Hey friends, it's Norman here. Today we're going to be talking about the environment of money at this time being. And the Federal Reserve on Thursday cut interest rates by 25 basis points with a pathway to cutting two more for the end of the year and probably into next year as well. And wanted to discuss the positive correlation with ULTY in this environment from yieldmax, with money being easier to get, cheaper to obtain. It creates more liquidity for the stock market. And what is ULTY holding? It is holding highly speculative names that have high implied volatility. They move up and down very erratically. And if money is cheaper to borrow, money is flowing into the stock market. Where is it going to flow? Of course, pretty much everything. Their stock market go up in this type of environment, but more money flows into the speculative names like cryptocurrency and speculative names that Ulti is holding, like a nuclear product company like Oklo. And this environment is going to stay around for a while. If you look at how the Trump administration is talking, they want a low interest rate environment pretty much their entire administration. So when Jerome Powell leaves next year, the Trump administration is definitely going to put in some with the same mindset that wants lower interest rates as well. So this environment should help Ulti perform really well, and the speculative names will do well. Um, it's good, but we should always question everything. We should think about what could possibly go wrong in these environments. So, inflation seems to be going down, staying stable on a downtrend. But what if interest rates bounce back up and there's more pressure from the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates? That could be a very bad environment for ULTI and its holdings. If we look at 2022, what do you see? You see crypto winter, Bitcoin drops like, shoot, almost 80% amongst other cryptocurrencies. All the speculative names that I was following back then just tanked terribly. And why does that happen? Because if it's hard to get money and the stock market is going down, people tighten their belts and they think about where they can, cut. And people are going to cut their speculative names. They're going to cut their, take their gains and try to readjust their portfolio to be a lot more conservative and continue to question everything. We are relying on the yield max fund managers to be able to pick the right stocks, uh, that will do well in either environment. But sometimes it's difficult to predict what's going to do well and what's not. But the nice thing about Ulti is that flexibility in the prospectus. They can buy and sell stocks at will. And remember that they're trying to find the most highly volatile stocks that pay the high premium for the option strategy. So I think no matter what, Ulti is always going to be paying out their dividend because there's always speculative names to make options income on. But the stock price of Ulti can suffer tremendously based on the market environment. So I think good times are ahead for the Ulti price. I think it's going to maintain, um, the NAV or hopefully go up. That would be really nice. Or, slowly decline because it is running those option strategies. But if we did see that 2022 style market, interest rates are increasing, higher inflation, Ulti is going to not do very well. So, with that being said, always plan for the worst. If we entered that 2022 style market, how would you respond if you were invested into Ulti? So, what I am trying to do is during the good times of Ulti, taking some of that distribution and putting it on the sidelines into, something a little safer, diversify, and be ready for those bad days. But like I said, I think times are gonna be good for the next few years. This lower interest rate environment hopefully hangs around for a long time. It's supposed to be good for the environment, or the stock market environment, unless inflation remains sticky and comes back, then the Federal Reserve might be forced to change course and thus change the outlook on ULTY. So, what do you think ULTY is going to do from here? Is it going to do really well in this environment, or not perform as well? What is the Federal Reserve going to do moving forward? With Jerome Powell's term being up soon, Trump administration has to select a new Federal Reserve chair. There's typically a lot of volatility around selecting a new Federal Reserve chair. Uh, the stock market likes certainty. They like to be able to predict things. They don't like not knowing um, things. So, someone new coming in to the Federal Reserve that's going to run the Federal Reserve and not quite knowing their philosophy on things, it makes people a little nervous, makes people click the sell button. So we could see some volatility around that change, um, but I am hopeful for Ulti moving forward. All right, friends, that's what I have. Have a wonderful weekend. Norman is out.